Welcome to tonight's edition of the Klown Hour. I'm Scott Burks, your host. It came out slower. And my co-host, Dwayne Nash. Check him out on the yard, HBCU Sports. He's smiling again. We raps about all things HBCU Sports, as well as Sleazy Radio, otherwise known as SLZE Radio, every Tuesday night on Facebook Live. Check him, the coach, and the crew out. You'll be glad you did. It's very exciting. It's very entertaining. So check those brothers out there.
Well, no, the crew, the remaining person of the crew is Lou. So I don't want everybody to think out here is a whole bunch of other people. The other person is Lou. It's Lou.
Yeah, you don't want to think it's like what Steve Harvey used to say about rap concerts, like a bunch of Negroes on the stage with one microphone. Yeah. It's just three cats.
Well, let me correct that. Our normal host is Scott, Coach Scott, myself, and Sweet Lou. Occasionally we'll have Howie on the show, and occasionally we'll have another guest or two on. But yeah, for the most part, it's just the three of us. Yeah.
Dwayne, Coach, and Lou. Okay, now a bunch of Negroes with microphones on the stage. But anyway, check out his great work on herosports.com about to roll the rails there. We wrestle all things FCS athletics as it pertains to HBCUs. And as for me, you see the website, the Klown Times. Please check out the website, www.theklowntimes.net. That's my sports blog. You can check me out on Facebook as well, whether you're on your smartphone, desktop, laptop, wherever you are, and wherever you may be, you can check me out there as well. And I already alluded to it. You see what we're wearing, the hats. Merch.
Get yours.
Beep, 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 beep. Check out cafepress.com. Search for the Klown Times Sports there. You see all the merch there as you want. Other than hats, you got t-shirts, sweatshirts, purses, whatever. So whatever suits your fancy, mugs, anything. It's right there. The link will be in the description on YouTube. Once I upload this bad boy tomorrow, you'll find the gear there as well. And one more thing, please hit the subscribe button on YouTube, on the YouTube channel. Hit the bell so you can get notifications on when our asses are on, when we upload videos, or is it me just after the fool of myself pissing off the Big 12 Nation, as I've been doing the last 2 weeks, as a matter of fact. And speaking of which, like, comment, and share. Even if you do not like it, even if you think I'm a piece of shit, not piece, but if you're done full of shit, like some of your Big 12 members out there, you just state it. Type it out. And you know me, I'm King Petty. I will reply to you in the petty-like fashion like I've been doing. But anyway, keep it coming. Keep all the comments coming. Spread the word. I can take the banner. I'm a big boy. Dwayne's a big boy too. We'll take the banner, so it's all good. So keep on doing that as well. So, college football. I love me some college football. Now, week 0 was the appetizer, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
But we were looking forward, at least I was looking forward to week 1, the main course, the buffet, the salad bar line, the main course line, the dessert bar, and all the spreads you want. That's week 1, not the teas. That's week 0. But anyway, lots of exciting games. Oh my God! I mean, Oklahoma almost blowing the lead to damn
Tulane.
I know, and that was supposed to be in New Orleans, but thanks to Hurricane, wherever the hell, it was moved to Norman. And one thing I was give a quick shout out to Oklahoma, to the university. They put the logos of the Blue Wave on the same side, opposite side of where they had the OU logos, right?
Oh, wow.
So they put them there as a shout out to them because, again, it's supposed to be a Tulane home game, but due to the hurricane, it got moved to Norman. So anyway, there's a quick shout out to them for honoring Tulane and supporting Tulane the way they did. Albeit Tulane made a game of it, like I said earlier, and they got the onside kick and had a chance to win, but they gave it up on downs, and that was that. Also, Ohio State messed around with Minnesota before they got this shit together. And then, God, there's another game. I mean, but big upsets too. Montana beating Washington.
Yeah, we had several upsets
Montana
in the
State, excuse me.
FCS FBS matchups with
Yeah,
like you said with Montana.
right.
Who else? Vanderbilt taking a big loss to East Tennessee.
Yeah.
God, there were a couple of more too. Holy Cross over UConn, which led to the eventual resignation of Randy
Effective
Edsall.
immediately, yes.
Yeah, because even before the game, he was like, I think this might be the last one. And then he loses to Holy Cross. He's like, I
I'm
think
out.
this is gonna be it. I'm out. Let me go ahead and get these boxes and
Right.
get this office together. But yeah, there were several FCS over FBS upsets. Penn State, Wisconsin.
That was a defensive throwback, dude. That in North Carolina and Virginia Tech. Now, I will say this right quick before I talk about you, brother.
Mm-hmm.
Virginia Tech, I mean, that's I mean, they really took it back. The defense showed up like we used to be my ball, right, growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Now they shut down even though Carolina, let's be real, they lost the 2 top running backs to the draft. I think some of the perimeter players on the wide receiver side, I think some of those.
Yeah, they lost to Monty Brown, who's actually here in DC.
Yeah,
with
there
the
you go.
Football team. Yes,
so
sir.
That's a lot of production. They lost them last year, and they came in ranked 10th. Now, I would say this. I mean, you got to wonder, is North Carolina that overrated, or is Virginia Tech better than we thought? I think it's a little bit of both.
I'm going to go ahead and say it's a little bit of both, too.
Yeah, because Matt Brown, to that point, he said, we're overrated tonight. He was just blunt. He said, we'll get better. And I think they'll be all right. But I think that, you know, I again, to be fair, they lost a lot of their firepower on offense. The good news is that defense played pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
That's good news. Can't say the same thing about Miami. Even, you know, I knew, okay, it's Alabama. I get it. I knew that Alabama was going to win by 2 scores. At least 2 scores.
At least 2, right? Yeah.
And Miami, I think Miami still is a 9-win team. But the way they beat Miami, they beat them like they stole something from them. They got a new quarterback of Bryce Young. I mean, Bryce Young took some snaps last year. This is first year starting, right? I mean, he's one of the young men who had $1 million plus NIL name, image, and likeness contract. He's living up to it. The young brother's living up to it. He balled out, OWT out, right? But poor Derek King, I think he's still gimpy on that knee. They were just abusing the old boy. But I mean, it just makes you wonder. As much as we love college football, it's like, who's beating Alabama?
Right now, I really don't know, right? I almost want to say Georgia. I almost want to say Georgia.
They look good.
Based upon
that
what
defense
they did,
is nasty.
What they did to
shit.
Clemson, yes, I was not expecting that at all, right? But
wow.
Will Georgia? So for those who don't know what I mean by that, will Georgia end up doing what they've been doing for the past, many times?
High expectations and just fuck it up at the end. Yeah, I see.
Exactly, right? So, so, you know, it's a high possibility that we may get that. Mm-hmm. But if we don't, if we can somehow get Georgia and Alabama to play this Saturday, I would love it. I would love it. TV.
Everything else will shut down. Game day will be there. They'll provide the snacks. They'll provide the pizza.
Only because I want this current Georgia team against this current Alabama team.
Correct.
And to see how they would look.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
I don't want either team to be, I mean, it's going to happen anyway. But when they finally face off this season, both teams are going to be soiled through the season, dealing with whatever they have to deal with.
Injuries and shit like that, distractions.
Yeah, and then of course the expectations of Georgia being who they've shown us they've been in recent years. Excuse me.
Sure.
But oh my God, if we could just somehow get that game Saturday, that would be wonderful. But that's the only team I can think of based upon what I've seen so far. But as I always tell people, hey, it's week 1.
Yep.
Slow down. Don't get your expectations too high. Don't
It's a long season. It's a marathon.
Long season.
It's a damn marathon. It's 12 games. And I know people like to say that in the NFL seasons are sprints because it's 12 and 16 game, 17 game season now, respectively. But still, I mean, teams in the case of the NFL, especially this is really college football. A lot of times teams finish far different than how they started.
Yeah.
We see it every single year. So basically, if you go back to that Georgia game right quick, the deciding points were the pick six. The difference was the pick six.
The only score in the game. Neither offense
only touchdown
in this game. Yeah.
I mean, so which brings us to Clemson, right? Being ACC guys. Again, I'm trying not to panic because that's still Dabo Swinney.
Yeah.
That's still Clemson.
Yeah.
They still got those athletes. Now, to be fair, they lost a lot of offensive linemen. They lost Travis Etienne. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence is about to start this weekend against the Houston Texans with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So he ain't walking through that door again. They still so it's gonna that offense gonna be a work in progress. I think that DJ Ugule guy, that young man, he's a true sophomore. I think he's gonna be a play. He played well last year. In games he was asked to start in place of Trevor Lawrence because of his COVID situation. But I think they'll be fine. But I would say this. It's a good thing that, I mean, the only good thing about that loss to Georgia was that defense for Clemson, man.
Yeah.
It's legit. They're still legit, man. I mean, because Georgia was supposed to be having all this offensive talent. It was a 10-3 ball game. So it makes you wonder, Georgia's defense and Clemson's defense for the rest of the year.
Yeah.
That's gonna be great to watch, you know?
It will be wonderful to see that as a playoff preview, right?
I think it was a playoff preview. I think it was a playoff preview.
You know, to have those two teams going head up again later on in the season. My question is this, which was the concern going into this game, is whether or not, because what is Clemson currently ranked right now?
Sixth.
Yeah, it's currently whether or not Clemson can get back into that number 4 slot, right?
Right.
And one of the concerns was Clemson going into the season, their only other obstacle or tough game that they would have on their slate would be Carolina, right? And that game probably was it going to be until the ACC championship game? More like that?
Yeah. Let me. Because I'm pulling up right now. As well, I'm jabbering off to you. Yeah, because let me scroll down here. They have no more tests on their schedule, and I would say this. I'll take that back because the way NC State looked, albeit against South Florida, but a lot of the staff, the coaching staff of South Florida, came from Clemson, so they're trying to build something there. But I'll tell you what, brother. If NC State wins, if we win at Mississippi State this week, which almost took it on the chin themselves against Louisiana Tech, I think. If we win in Starkville, look the hell out. And remember, we said a while back with our ACC buddies from All Sports Discussion, look, watch out for NC State and Boston College. They got their offensive firepower back. NC State has almost everyone, offense and defense, back. So, and they played Clemson early in the season. So look out for that as well. But I think Clemson's going to be fine. The only thing is, again, it's all about the schedule. Yeah. It's who you play. So basically, the only out-of-conference, they got 3 more out-of-conference games. South Carolina State this coming weekend.
Dub. Sorry, Coach Bud.
Yep.
Speaking of, before we get to that real quick, if none of you guys have ever heard Coach Buddy Pugh of South Carolina State do an interview, find one, please. They're always entertaining. The quote from this past week's media weekly press conference from Coach Pugh was, you catch a tiger by the tail, but once you do, you got to play with him. I was like,
that's so old school.
Yeah, and dogs are known for chasing cars. But, this time we're going to be chasing the tiger. And if we catch him, I was like, yeah, thank you, Coach Pugh, for those gems there. But yeah, so the rest of Clemson's schedule at the South Carolina State is
UConn at home and then at South Carolina. South Carolina's rebuilding. That's a rivalry game. So basically, even if Clemson runs the table, which is damn near possible, right? We're not giving up.
Who are the ACC games? Because that's the real question I have.
Okay, they play. Hold on for a second, brother. They play at the South Carolina State. They host Georgia Tech. That's a dub. They go to NC State. They host Boston College. They go to Syracuse. They go to Pitt. They host Florida State. They're at Louisville. They host UConn. They host Wake Forest. They're at South Carolina. So they can run the table.
They could.
Outside of going to Raleigh to face NC State, that's going to be a tough one. And I think Pitt's going to be pretty good. That's going to be in Pittsburgh. But really, they probably will run the table. They probably go. I can see 11-1 in the future easily.
Yeah, almost definitely. Really. Now the Florida State game will be interesting. Now
they played well. They played well against Notre Dame.
Most definitely played well. Notre Dame almost Notre Dame this weekend as well, right? But the two teams who I was looking for that's not on their schedule, North Carolina, like I said before, they're saying there's a chance they may face them in the ACC title game, or it might be the team who just beat them this past weekend that might be facing them in that game as well, Virginia Tech, who is currently ranked. So so those will be their only tests so far throughout the season. And I don't know if a win over because that's that's the coastal winner, right?
Correct.
So a win over the coastal winner, and with the rest of their schedule looking the way that it currently does, they're going to need help to get back in that top four, in my opinion, right now.
Because it's the schedule.
Because of the scheduling. And I don't know if they're going to just have to blow out a lot of the teams that they're supposed to blow out.
Yeah, because again, we mentioned it, man, and both teams are like this. Georgia and Clemson is sitting pretty at the last week. If you look at their schedule, right? Because Georgia, in the case I know it's the SEC in Georgia, but I mean, shit. Outside of the rivalry game with Auburn they have every year from the West, I don't have the schedule in front of me, but I'm pulled up right now. But I mean, Florida's not that good. They didn't look all that good.
No.
And Tennessee is Tennessee. They're almost overrated every year. Kentucky, they improved, but I mean, come on. But so let's see. Their crossover game with the West Division is Missouri. So you basically have this is Georgia's next 3 games. University of Alabama, Birmingham, UAB at home. They host South Carolina. They're at Vanderbilt. They host Arkansas. They're at Auburn. They host Kentucky. They play Florida every year in Jacksonville. They host Missouri. They're at Tennessee. They host Charleston Southern, and they're at Georgia Tech. They can run. They could be undefeated, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Auburn's all that. They're in the poll this week because of name only, and I think that and I don't think Florida's all that great this year. So they can easily run the table, bro.
Yeah, they could, right? But the two teams that I'm looking at, of course, are the two teams that are ahead of Clemson at number 4 and number 5 right now, which are Oklahoma, who struggled against Tulane, who we just talked about, and Texas A&M, who came away with a victory this weekend themselves. Right. So they're going to most definitely be looking for one of those two to take a loss. And then depending upon what happens between Alabama and Ohio State for the rest of the year, it's going to be real intriguing to see, because they're going to need one of those, at least 4 of those 5 to fall for them to get back in that top 4.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Texas A&M is they're good. I think they're going to lose to Alabama again. They're going to have at least one loss. And they may pick up another loss along the way. So basically, if you're Clemson, you're looking at, again, this is early as hell. We know that. You're really looking, because I think Texas is better than Oklahoma this year. That just based by how both teams took week 1. I think you got to look at Georgia. Because Georgia beat y'all in the head-to-head. You had to have that head-to-head. And if not, then it's going to be tough sledding. You're going to have to go on a ring and hope and a prayer. I mentioned earlier Montana State beat Washington. It was Montana. University of Montana beat Washington.
The Grizz,
that's my bad. That's totally my bad. I have a buddy of mine who I once worked with at Deloitte who went to Montana to play football there. So he's pretty happy about that. He'll probably piss him off. I say Montana State instead of Montana. But anyway, one last thing right quick, man. Speaking of SEC, how about UCLA thumping LSU? Is UCLA back all of a sudden? They're 2-0. That was a damn good win at home.
It was a good win at home, right? Wow. I don't know, right? Because, of course, what's the one thing that always slips up the Pac-12? The Pac-12. Yeah. They always beat each other up.
They cannibalize each other like crazy. Yeah.
So the question is going to be, who going to do it this year, right?
Right.
Will someone actually escape? The zombies that are the Pac-12 team that are looking to eat up one another? Or will somebody be able to get through clean and potentially find a way into a playoff spot? I don't know. Depends upon who the rest of the OOCs are on whether or not we'll have a Pac-12 team into the playoffs as of right now. I don't necessarily see it as of right now.
Right.
But we might get it under. God, I don't even want to say that. I don't. Because I know I'm going to say it today, and I'm going to look foolish by like 5 weeks from now by saying it's going to be an undefeated Pac-12 team. I'm going to go ahead and not say that right now. But UCLA is looking good early. Can they sustain this success throughout the rest of the year?
Right. Because what the Pac-12 needs are two things. I know they got Oregon, and Oregon's about to lose to Ohio State this weekend. Sorry, Ducks fans, but I'm just being real with you. Is that the horseshoe? You're not winning the horseshoe. And it's a noon game too. You ain't winning that. The Pac-12 needs USC and UCLA to be good. They need those are your two brands. When we talked about the last few weeks of college football, it's all about brands. How are your brands looking? If your brands are winning, your brands are studs, you can command top dollar if you are looking for a contract, television contract when we do a television contract because you got that leverage. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So I know Oregon's going to lose this weekend. So the road through the Pac-12 may go through LA. If they perform, if SC doesn't do, we talked about this with Georgia and Clemson and the other teams. If they don't do SC things, they're notorious for doing SC things during the season. We talked about this every single year. USC has the talent. They should be running the Pac-12 year after year after year. But they have no damn business losing division to Utah. No disrespect to Utah. They're a solid program. They ain't got the talent in the recruiting pool that USC has. They shouldn't be losing that division to the out of the Arizona teams. They shouldn't be losing the division like they did 1 year to Colorado. They should not be doing that. They're freaking SC. They're the Trojans. Right?
Yeah.
They shouldn't be doing that. And it's good to see USC looking better. I mean, UCLA looking better. So maybe that game would matter this year for the first time in several thousand years. Yeah, right. If both teams live up to their potential, but we see this every year with SC. So it remains to be seen. Again, it's early. I'm not going to be one of those a-holes that says let's push the panic button. It's a process. Like you said, like you told me 2 years ago about the JCs and NFL situation, let the pizza bake.
Wow, I forgot about that one. That one was a gem right there.
I remember that gem is in my psyche. I remember that shit. I quote you on it. Let the pizza bake. It's a long season. Just let it ride out. And it won't matter anyway until early November or the last week of October when the college football playoff rankings come out for the first time.
Most definitely, yeah.
So who gives a shit about the rankings up until that point? So let's just enjoy this season. Let's just enjoy college football for what it is. It's a marathon slash sprint. It's a marathon slash sprint, but it's more of a marathon. Things are going to change. It's going to a lot of ebbs and flows throughout the season, people. So again, we love college football. You love college football. We love you for loving college football. To quote you, Let the pizza bake. That's all he asks. Oh, one
Oh
more
my
thing.
God. Yeah,
One
go
more
ahead.
thing before we go transition to the HBCU sports segment. And I teased it during the introduction about the Big 12 fans. The Big 12 is about to like do a tap day, if you will. And if you don't know what tap day is, Google it as it pertains to Greek, old school Greek life, Black Greek life. You'd be glad you did. They're about to do a tap day thing on 4 universities to be new Big 12 members. Local school here, University of Cincinnati, which officially submitted its application today. UCF, University of Houston, and BYU.
Yeah.
So basically, even though those schools, like I said, they're aforementioned UC, University of Cincinnati, sent out its application officially today, the Big 12 is like to those 4 schools, please come.
Yeah, oh, most definitely.
Please come.
Definitely.
Please come.
You know, in my eyes, they're some of the top, they're the top of well, the cream of the crop of the group of 5 conferences that are out there right now.
Yeah.
Yes. Please come. Not just that. What do we say? What do we talk about a lot when we talk about television deals? They're in great markets, especially talk about Cincinnati and Houston. Yes. Oh, yes. Please come.
And that's recruiting base. That's a future recruiting base.
You also said Central Florida, right?
Yep. Florida.
Where is that? That's
Orlando. It's Orlando. Yeah.
People are talking about UCF being what Florida State once was because of the amount of money that they have coming into this program right now. You add that coming over into
the big student body. That's one of the biggest student bodies in the country.
Body. Yes.
Yeah.
You transition that over into a Power 5 conference. I'm just saying. I know.
Go ahead. So I'm sorry, brother.
I was gonna say you're not getting back Oklahoma and Texas.
Correct.
But you're getting back a couple of pretty good programs there.
Yes. Yeah, and UCF's a sleeping. I don't want to call them sleeping giant because they've been at the mountaintop. Whether it's the bowl games or BCS, the New Year's 6 games in the past, BCS bowl games in the past, and the like. UC, Cincinnati has been there. They may well crash the playoffs, depending on how everything plays out.
Yeah.
Houston's a sleeping giant. BYU, we talked about brands. BYU is a huge brand.
Yeah.
They are. But my only concern, this is why I pissed off a lot of Big 12 fans. Even with those 4 strong football programs, they're strong football programs. They're not Oklahoma and Texas. Then again, who is Oklahoma and Texas? But the point what I'm saying with that is, when I talked about earlier, brands.
Yeah.
The only legit brand, take Oklahoma and Texas away. Your only brand is BYU.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier UCF. Even though I wouldn't call them sleeping giant because they've been successful, in terms of putting them in a Power 5 with those resources at that school, that fertile recruiting ground, that track record of success, I'll give you that. That's an explosion waiting to happen.
Yeah. Because
the support, huge student body, the alumni base, it's in Orlando. It's, like I said, fertile recruiting area. Cincinnati, Luke Fickell coming from Ohio State, Ohio boy. He's building the defense. And he's making it almost like Ohio State light in terms of recruiting. You're about to move that into a Power 5. My only thing is this, though. When the networks come back around in 2025, when Oklahoma, Texas leaves, will they pay the Big 12 like a Power 5? Will Fox Sports, I know them and ESPN have part of the kitty and with the Big 12, but it's mainly a Fox property. Will Fox Sports look at the Big 12 minus Oklahoma, minus Texas, left with BYU, UCF, Oklahoma State, and West Virginia? Would they look at them? It's not going to be near as much with Oklahoma and Texas, to be sure. But my only thing was, that's what I was trying to tell these Big 12 fans is, y'all be lucky to see, because they're getting paid, what, over 32, 35 million for school until 2025. They'd be lucky to see half that, in my opinion.
I'll give them 20 to 25 million. And the reason why I say that again is because, well, I mean, your half that is like 17 million, right? So 20 is not much further off that. This is why I said that 2025. The reason why I give them that at least is because of those major markets of Houston and Cincinnati and Orlando. Right. And those, of course, are enticing. But I said it before on the show, and I'll say it again. I'll even say it to the Big 12 fans' face. Hey, where y'all at? Big 12 fans?
They're here.
Hey, y'all there? Okay.
They're over our channel,
Yeah. Let me make sure y'all get this again, right? Even with Oklahoma and Texas, the Big 12 was still the 5th conference out of the Big 5 conferences in college football. Let's be real, right? And unless you were going to add the 72 Dolphins, the early 2000 New England Patriots, the 85 Bears, and say like the 80s Washington football team, that's the only time you're going to end up vaulting up higher on the list, right? But of course, that's not going to happen. So with that said, take these new teams, be happy with that you're still in 5th place because you were already in 5th place, and just look to build on that. Why are you mad? It is what it is. It's just unfortunate that you're doing this without Texas and Oklahoma, but you're getting you're getting in several up and coming programs, like we said, in Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston. Yeah. So
and just go ahead and look toward the future. And they have a national brand coming in BYU.
Yeah,
I'll give them that. It's not official yet, but if you read the reports, again, you see it's been reported today. It's official. They sent in their letter of application. If you believe, we both read the reports on the Big 12, the overtures they mailed to these 4 institutions. They're basically saying, just send the application, make it official, but we want
you. Yeah.
And I would say this too. I also was saying, and I was probably wrong on this part, but why would Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF leave to go to sink a ship? Because at the time, I thought the remaining Big 12 schools would look at the balance. You know what I'm saying? I thought the West Virginia, they still may want to go to the ACC. The ACC,
they still might.
I don't think the ACC wants them at this point, but it's still, if the ACC says to jump, West Virginia would go how high?
Yeah.
And I think that if the Pac-12 made overtures to Oklahoma State and TCU just getting the Southwest, I think they might. But if all things considered, I thought that you see those 4 teams in the American I thought that American Conference should have been aggressive towards if the remaining of the remaining Big 12 schools were to pull apart and leave only a handful left. I thought they should be the America should be aggressive and grab those schools. But I see why UC is doing what they're doing. I see why UCF is doing what they're doing. I see why Houston's doing it. And even though BOE doesn't need the money, I see why they're doing it. Money.
Yeah.
You know, because the American schools make $7 million per year. Okay. Like, say like for the sake of argument, once they get accepted by the Big 12, they start playing next year. It's probably going to be 2 years from now, but let's just say for the sake of argument, they start next year, right? They're in line, and I know it's more mouths to feed, but they're going to be making double digits in the millions. They'll be making at least 15. if my North Carolina math proves me correctly, it's like what 10 schools now.
Uh-huh.
2 would leave, 4 come in, so there's a full 12.
Yeah.
So they'll probably make over 25 mil, maybe 30 mil still per school. So if you're UC, you're looking at a paycheck from going from paycheck for 7 mil to 30 mil. I get that. I was wrong on that. I will get that. I was just saying, I was thinking that the Big 12 was the sinking ship. I thought the team was going to say, fuck it. Let's look out for ourselves and bounce. But it's not looking that way. And so, good for the Big 12 for doing what they had to do. I think Bob Bowlesby taught those reigning schools off the cliff for now, and they convinced the 4 strongest brands out there in the group of 5 to come in.
Yeah.
And to your point, in up and coming markets, budget markets, as we mentioned earlier, including national brand and BYU, I just wish that, as a resident of Cincinnati, Ohio, I just wish that, and I hope that this takes place while Oklahoma and Texas are still in the Big 12. Because I would love to go watch Texas and Oklahoma here. I would love that. But in all likelihood, if they were to stick around that long, we'll probably only get one of those squads to come here.
Yeah, most definitely. Now, to your point, so I've been saying even throughout this entire situation of what's been going on with the Big 12, that everybody stop panicking, right? And that included the Big 12. And now you said a few things that made me develop that theory a little bit more, right? You're already talking about programs in the Big 12 who with their TV deal was getting over 30 million annually, right?
Correct. Well over 30 million, yes.
Why would you leave that conference unless it just completely folded and go someplace where you're making under 10 million with the TV deals at those locations?
Sure.
That means those conferences would have to prove that now they're worthy, even with their additions. And you got to remember, those additions may not be enough to boost them back up to 30. At best, maybe 15, 20, right? So why don't I just stay here, wait it out, and be like a squatter? Don't leave until it's time for me to leave, right? And see what happens. If we get back or anywhere close to what we once were, wonderful. If not, then it's time for us to go and we got to build up house someplace else. But yeah, that was the main reason why I kept saying, that's why no one needs to panic in the Big 12 right now. But yeah, I don't see them having the money that they once had before with Texas and Oklahoma. But it'll still be good money.
This will be good money. I mean,
yeah,
considering what they have left. But I would say this, again, if you're those American schools that, again, the Big 12 did tap you on the shoulder, if you're facing the wall, and said, come on in, you have to be happy.
Yeah.
They have to be happy. Again, UC, University of Cincinnati, going from 7 mil to possibly 20 mil. Even after Oklahoma and Texas leaves, they'll probably have around to go to possibly 20 mil. Even if they go from 30 some million until 2025 to 20 mil. That's still $20 million. That's still a $20 million check that UC is getting.
Yeah.
And UCF is getting. And Houston is getting. So, and BYU too. So, yeah. So, we'll see. To your point, we'll see. Again, your quote again, let the pizza bake. Let the pizza bake. And we'll go from there. But this shit's far from over. It's far
most
from over.
Definitely far from over.
Far from over. So let's transition to our HBCU segment, speaking of college football. Great games of the weekend, brother. Again.
Oh, yes.
The big one, Sunday. This past Sunday. Jackson State, FAMU, Tennessee State, Grambling. And I look, my wife had me on a to-do list, a honey-do list. So unfortunately, I couldn't catch the Tennessee State game. I caught a little bit of FAMU and Jackson State, but they're both for defensive battles. And I love defense. So So that's cool. But I like Jackson State's victory was huge.
Yes.
Essentially winning in FAMU's backyard. I know it was in Miami, but that's Florida.
Yes.
The FAMU fans travel. They travel. So that was essentially a road game for Jackson State. And that's a cool way to welcome FAMU into the SWAC fold. I'm just excited for the SWAC this year. But anyway, that was a huge win for Dion. And after the game, this video went viral almost. Like he's talking to the team, he says, "Play my theme song," and they play the song. They're bouncing around. I'm like, damn, I got hyped just watching that. But give me your thoughts real quick on Jackson State's big one over FAMU and what it means going forward for Coach Dion and his crew.
I'll say this, right? So Sunday is probably the laziest I have been in a very long time. I legit just kicked my feet up, turned on Jackson State, Florida A&M, which was followed by Georgia, Grambling and Tennessee State, which was followed by Fort Valley State and Tuskegee and the Red Tails Classic, which was on NFL Network, which was followed by Florida State Notre Dame. So with the exception of a quick step out to get something to eat real quick and come back to the hotel room I was staying in, I was being very lazy on Sunday, dude. And I'm almost ashamed of it, but I'm almost not, because I got in a bunch of college football. So be it. It is what it is, right?
Right.
But to answer your question, yes, that game was big. And the reason why I say it was big, going into the season, a lot of times coaches, they say things about their program and how it's improved. It was asked of Dion during the SWAC media day about his team. And he said, it is unequivocally improved, right? Offense didn't look it. And, it rained off and on throughout that game. But the defense looked like it was most definitely unequivocally improved in what it was last year, giving up 6 points to a program that was averaging over 30 points in 2019. And I will say, yes, of course, Ryan Stanley, the all-world quarterback of the Florida A&M, is no longer with that program. And yes, they had a new QB there. And even worse, I guess you could say worse, but this dude actually looks good in that game against Jackson State on Sunday. God, I forget how to pronounce his last name, but Florida A&M has named their freshman as the new starter coming up this weekend against Fort Valley State. But yeah, when you do that, when you force a team to change quarterbacks, that means your defense is doing something. And they sure did, especially holding FAMU to 6 points. I think it's the first time that they've been held under 10 points to a non-FCS program in a couple of years now. I almost want to say it was like 5 or 6 years. And so, it was interesting that happened. But, if Jackson State, if their defense can continue to play like this, they're going to cause fits to a lot of SWAC programs. And I'm hoping, God knows I'm hoping, that this Florida A&M defense will play at this level when they face Alabama A&M, who torched South Carolina State for 42 points this weekend. But they lost to the nail biter 42-41. So that game was actually a pretty good one too. And unfortunately, that game was not televised. Hey, MEAC, this is what I'm talking about. And SWAC, MEAC and SWAC, this is what I'm talking about here when I say that you guys need to have a great television deal, because we miss out on matchups like this. We miss out, which could very easily be the Celebration Bowl precursor for this year. So yeah, it is what it is, though.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to check on the NFL Network right quick was we touched on it, Tennessee State and Grambling. Eddie George's debut. You watched the game. I know you have some thoughts on Eddie George, so educate us on that. What do you think of Eddie George's team?
Well, I was flipping back and forth between that game and the Jackson State Florida A&M game. Yeah. But what I saw of it, both offenses looked like there were moments there where they were struggling, but they always say especially in week one. Well, both teams actually did play in the spring, but you got a new coaching staff there.
Right.
You got a new quarterback over at Grambling. So you got a lot of learning there going on both sides. And they always say your defense shows up before your offense finally does.
Correct.
And that's what exactly looked like it happened in this particular game. But, they looked okay in terms of Tennessee State. But, what's going to have to happen is hopefully they improve. Well, they're going to need to improve a lot more because they have a huge test defensively in said Jackson State team that I just talked about just not too long ago.
Right. So you touched upon about TV. So what if, I don't have Jackson State's schedule if I'm familiar, but what if Jackson State wins as expected against Tennessee State? 2-0, they already beat FAMU, right, to start the conference. Well, actually, it's conference play, to be honest with you, even though Tennessee State's out of conference. Do you think ESPN, I know ESPN3 has a lot of SWAC games anyway, but do you think ESPN would be like, why don't we move one of these Jackson State games to Thursday or Friday? And maybe to ESPN2. And let's get this Coach Deion Sanders, let's give him a bigger stage, because this, especially if they look pretty good, better than they did in the spring, why don't they use them? That could easily happen.
It could easily happen where they end up switching a schedule potentially. I'll say this though, they've already have several Jackson State games that are going to be aired either on ESPN or streaming on one of the several ESPN networks, right? So I actually just pulled it up. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go.
All right.
Okay, so that game is going to be it. Well, that was one that was just played. Like you said, Jackson State, Tennessee State is going to air on ESPN3 if memories. ESPN3. Who else? Jackson State against Louisiana Monroe, which is an OOC game out of conference, which is going to be on ESPN3 as well. Jackson State, Alabama A&M on ESPN Plus. Keep going. Jackson State, Alabama State, ESPN Plus. Bethune-Cookman, Jackson State, ESPN Plus again. Jackson State Southern on ESPN3. Jackson State Alcorn, ESPN Plus. So there's several games that will be on televised somewhere. Now the question is, since they've already made the decision to have several of their games switched over to Thursday, is whether or not they decide at the last minute they want to move one. Like Alabama Bethune-Cookman is going to be a Thursday game. I think that is. What's that? Yeah, that's Thursday, right?
Right.
Alcorn State, Arkansas Pine Bluff is going to be a Thursday game. Arkansas Pine Bluff, Prairie View A&M is a Thursday game. So those are the games. It looks like what they're looking to do, especially with their Thursday matchups. Because if memory serves me, I think several of the Friday games are going to go to the MEAC.
Okay.
So the question is now, will they decide to move any of those ESPN3 games up to ESPN2 or ESPNU? And then the question, of course, comes in, who do they replace it with? And will that conference be happy with them replacing that game with a Jackson State game? And I don't know if it necessarily happens. It could, especially if Jackson State comes out extremely impressive and they go like 5-0. It's highly possible that Louisiana Monroe game is going to be telling on how good this team is going to be throughout the rest of the season. But it's going to be intriguing to see exactly what happens with the rest of their games and how they're going to continue to be televised throughout the season.
Let me get you out here on this, man. Let's close this podcast on this. I've seen this on social media a lot, and I want to get your reaction. And I think y'all touched upon the Double S Project group on Facebook as well. A lot of people, a lot of our HBCU brethren and sisterin, if you will, were complaining about ESPN2 not showing the halftime bands.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And it's saying that you won our games, but you don't want our full culture or whatever. It's just been varying by several of us. And people don't understand what advertising dollars means and how they pay for stuff. Usually, what they say, like if you watch a game show, what do they say when they go to commercial break? It's time to pay some bills.
Yeah.
That's what those commercials do. That's paid advertising. So what's the longest advertising block? Halftime. Okay, so if you're ESPN2, you're always showing this game national televised audience. Why would you forfeit that to show the battle of the bands? Because that's how the networks get paid for it, and essentially that's how the teams, if I'm not mistaken, get paid.
Yeah,
is you get this advertising dollars. So so do you think Coach Dion and the coach at FAMU want to forfeit all that money that they're getting on national television just to show a damn halftime band? No. And the reason why, and so the same people are like, well, NBC showed the Bayou Classics Battle of the Bands and Tennessee State and the Tennessee State coverage and Grambling coverage on the NFL Network showed the halftime bands. You know why? They were sponsored. They're a paid sponsor. So they essentially say, you know what? NFL Network, NBC for the Bayou Classic, in case the Bayou Classic, we're going to sponsor these halftime band shows. We're going to give you the money. Because that's how, again, they forfeit those advertising dollars because the sponsor, by sponsor, they pay them for it.
Yeah.
People don't understand that. So that's how advertising dollars works, folks. That's how cable networks and whatever get paid, shows, games, that's how they get paid. Radio shows, they get paid by advertising dollars. Cable Fox, like Fox News, the reader on NBC, MSNBC, that's how they get paid the big dollars. Advertising.
Yeah.
Remember when, and I'm going off a tangent, but right quick, remember when they were bitching about, when Ralph was so about what, what's that guy on Fox News, not Sean Hannity, the other guy, when he said that there was no such thing as white supremacy after when doing that rally in Charlottesville a few years ago. What the sponsors, they threatened to take away advertising.
Yep.
As a way of saying, that's stupid, shut the hell up. Or else. It's through advertising. That's how they get paid.
To your point, how do we get to the Washington football team going through the whole process of wanting to change their name? Advertising. When FedEx said they were going to remove their naming rights off the stadium, when Pepsi talked about removing their advertising dollars from the team as well. Oh, now we got to rethink the whole naming thing. That's when it all comes down to it, right? So exactly, it all comes down to money, right? And for years, my original thought was that in order for them to do that, to broadcast the halftime shows, because I don't know how if it's necessarily the entire performance or not, but if anything, the networks, if memory serves me correctly, and I need someone to correct me if I'm wrong.
Me too. I'm educated too. I'm getting educated too. So
yeah, right. So I'm gonna go ahead and most definitely start digging a little bit deeper into this, right? That you have to get rights in order to perform certain songs on television, right? And my guess is that you would have to go ahead and get that done in advance so that can happen. And excuse me, we all, for those who are within that culture of HBCU bands, know that a lot of times the band directors are very secretive about everything, what their performance is going to be, what songs they're going to perform, everything, right? So chances of them releasing what their set list is going to be beforehand might be slim. But again, if that is true, right?
Right.
I didn't even think about the whole aspect of the advertising dollars, but it's funny that you bring that up. Sam Weiss, who works with the NFL Network,
Mhm.
who's also an alum of Howard University, was
Right.
asked his perspective of what they should do in terms of covering the game this past weekend. He said he gave his advice, and one of those things, of course, was to play the halftime show. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's more so a misunderstanding from the networks that they don't realize how big that is within the culture of HBCU athletics, more so HBCU football, to have the halftime performance. I'm about to call it the halftime game. In essence, that's what it is, right? The
Mhm.
halftime performances aired on television, but for whatever reason, of course, Bayou Classic knows because it's well-known, Grambling Southern, their bands always played on the NBC networks. They know to go ahead and play that. And now NFL Network knows because an HBCU person told them about that. So if there's someone that can get to the ESPN, whoever's programming directors to say, hey, tug on their shirt a little bit, you might want to go ahead and perform a little bit of these halftime shows, it'll finally appease the HBCU fans. But I think it may be a little bit more to it than what we currently know. But the advertising thing seems to be the thing that makes the biggest sense.
Exactly. Well said. Glad you said that because it was bandied about on social media and
always is. Every time we're aired on TV, why don't they show the bands? Why don't they show the bands? Yo, it's more. It's not that they hate. It's more to it than that.
Advertising dollars, folks.
Yeah.
And sponsorships. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Take a chill pill. Going back to your phrase, let the pizza bake. We're on TV more. We're on streaming more. HBCU schools are seeing more now than ever before. Thank you, ESPN. Thank you, NFL Network.
Yes.
And just look, guys, gals, brothers and sisters, let's just enjoy this. Can we not enjoy this? Can we not enjoy seeing our schools on television? Can we not enjoy seeing our schools stream everywhere, anywhere you want? We're going to complain about exposure. We're getting exposure now.
Now we're getting the exposure.
We're getting hell exposure. We're probably going to get more exposure in the future.
Yo, it's insane.
Come on.
One day in the future,
yeah,
I have my thoughts about exposure right now. And I know I'm gonna piss a lot of people off when I talk about that too. But yeah, we're getting the exposure that we've been asking for, but it still doesn't seem to be enough for everybody. Increments, right?
Right.
We got to understand why it's not being shown, and then once we get the understanding, figure out ways in order for it to become so.
Thank you. All right. On that note, man, let's call a wrap. I mean, the college football edition of the Klown podcast. Thank y'all for tuning in. Please check out my man Dwayne Nash on the Yards. That's HBCU Sports, basketball, all things HBCU Sports, as well as SLZE, aka Sleazy Raider, every Tuesday on Facebook Live. Lou, Coach Dwayne. Catch him there. And also his good work on herosports.com. We talked about FCS athletics pertains to HBCU sports. And one last thing, or two last things, please continue to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Please like, share, comment. Again, if you don't like what I have to say, come on and say it. I'm petty in my response. I may be entertaining about it, but hey, just still interact with us, share the video. We'd appreciate it. We appreciate you hit that subscribe button as well. And take care of yourselves this weekend. It's NFL football season this coming weekend. We may come up with another video about that pretty soon. Who knows when? But again, enjoy it. Enjoy week 2 of college football season. Take care. Be safe. Be out.